Thanks, Chris. Thanks so much for the invite, and it's amazing to be here. So really appreciate being here, Chris.
No, not at all.
Hi.
Lovely to have you. Looking forward to it myself. Really am.
So my name is Bhav Nadoshi, and first of all, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for being here tonight, spending your evening with us, and also to Chris from Corona Marketing for hosting this webinar for us. And I'm really excited to be here with you, and we've got quite a bit in store for you. So I'm sure you'll really be enjoying this today. So the topic that we're going to be talking about is how to successfully grow your dental business. But before we get into that, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on myself and Rahul. So, right.
Oops.
One second, just get
There
this.
you go.
No? Okay, so both Rahul and myself, we've been working together as a team. We're a husband and wife team, and we're a partnership in almost everything we've done over the last 30 years. And what I would believe that we're very complementary to each other, because we've got various skill sets that, when put together, forms a really good team. And over the sort of last, I think, 15 years or so, I've actually been focusing primarily on high performance coaching with dental practices. The thing is, I am a dentist, but I've actually stopped practicing dentistry when I started doing business coaching. So, it kind of just naturally stood its course. So to give you a little bit more of insight, we've both been practice owners. We've had multiple practices. We've had an academy, a training academy, where we had hands-on courses that we were running over the years. Rahul's received the most outstanding contribution to dentistry most recently, and we've had other accolades in the past. Rahul's been past president of the British Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry in 2018-19. He's currently Clinical Strategy Development Director for Dentex, which is a corporate body with approximately, I would say, about 85 practices now. And so we've got a lot of corporate experience as well, and for groups of dental practices as well. We're both judges for the National Private Dentistry Awards. We've been doing that, I think, for the last 15 years as well. So we've got a huge experience on what is a really great practice this day and age. He's also done clinical editorship for Premium Practice Dentistry magazine. And we've done quite a lot of other things with regard to Training Institute, and very heavily involved in the industry with speaking. We've done extreme makeover, we've done filming, we've been on TV, radio. This is when we were previously in our younger days. I hope we haven't changed much since this photograph was taken. But our primary focus now at this stage of our careers is really, we want to give back, and we want to help the profession with our collated experience in any way that we possibly can. Our primary focus is really helping dentists to level up, whatever that happens to mean to whichever dentist, whether it's a dental associate, whether it's practice owners, whether it's a group of practice owners. If you want to do more private dentistry and increase the volume of private dentistry, then we're here for you as well. And our sort of level of expertise is really establishing and managing private practices for growth. And really what we're aiming to do ultimately is to increase the EBITDA of your practice so that you have a higher exit value. Throughout COVID, one of the things that we've actually done now and put into place is we have an online program for various programs that help associates, peak performance coaching, leadership. So we've developed all these CPD related online programs and online and coaching programs, if anyone's interested. Our primary mission right now is really to sort of give back to the profession in whichever way that we possibly can to help. So that's what we're trying to do right now. So in the latter sort of stages of our career, we want to really help as much as we possibly can. So if any of you, I mean, we've got about an hour today, but if any of you feel that, you know, there's something that you want to explore further, perhaps you're going through some challenges or you have some issues, we'd be more than welcome to, you know, sort of just reach out to us and we'll sort of help answer whatever questions and obstacles that you have in whichever way that you would like that help. So what I found is initially as dentists, when we're progressing in our careers, we first work on our clinical skills, which is the right way to do that. So we will gain more knowledge, we become more proficient and expert at what we're trying to do, try to find the aspect of dentistry that's more you know, enjoyable for us, and really, you know, really put ourselves out there. But then what happens is many practice dentists then go on to own a dental practice and a business. And that's where things start becoming a little bit more challenging, a little bit more tricky, because the truth is, as dentists in the undergraduate course, we haven't really been given much business skills. And our primary focus has always been the health and the oral care of our patients, which is the right thing to do. That's what we become expert in. But when we own a dental business, things start becoming a little bit tricky because now we've got to manage a team. We've got to lead a team around us. Then we've got to start managing people, our patients that are coming to us, and we have to manage their expectations and what they require. And if there's any imbalance there, that sort of leads to redundant skills there, because we might not be getting the right type of caliber of patients coming to our practice so that we can use these skills that we've worked so hard to, you know, to sort of finalize and make so good. So we kind of hit these sort of barriers as we start developing our practice, and we kind of go in there blindly actually, and we see what was done before, what our colleagues are doing, and we kind of follow suit. And sometimes I look at this and I think it's the blind leading the blind, and we're all doing the same sort of thing. And therefore, we're all getting mediocre results. So what I've seen over the past is some people will say, okay, we're in this situation, let's do more marketing, let's get the right type of people to us. But after a while, they're not getting a return on investment there. Or they might say, let's teach our reception team to communicate really well, and let's do verbal and non-verbal communications training and that sort of thing. But again, after a while, things sort of filter away, and you know, and people move back into their comfort zones again, and you can't really get that return. And others still fuss over the finances and all the metrics, and have and analyze, and to an extent that they paralyze themselves by all this data around them. I remember one of my clients that I worked with many years ago now, you know, so he was giving me a tour of his practice, and when I went into the staff room, that staff room looked like some kind of, you know, like there was graphs and metrics and things all over the wall. And I was like, whoa, that's just given me a headache just looking at that. So, you know, people will fuss over that, but they may not get a return on investment. And as a consequence of doing things in this way, which is a single faceted approach to business, people find that they never seem to have enough time to do the things, all the things that they want to do. And they always sort of, you know, trying to fit in and squeeze in patients wherever they can. The team are over sort of exhausted, everyone's sort of feeling stressed, and there's never enough time to do anything, you know, constructive or to focus on your growth and move forward. If you put that together with non-impactful communication from the team, and when I say team, I mean everyone, including the dentist, everyone together, then you sort of get less than expected results. And then if you have lack of team coordination or misaligned team, you end up developing a lackluster customer service for your patients, and that in itself creates no results or limited results, or you don't have consistency of results. You have some months that are really good and some months that are terrible. Now, that sort of roller coaster kind of causes me anxiety. I wouldn't want that. I would want consistency of results when I look at business. And then if we put into the mix patient expectations, which these days are really high, and that's because patients have access to so much information out there. They will be, Google, and they will self-diagnose, and they will sort of come to you saying, I want this, and they will literally come to you with their treatment plans. And it's really hard to work with your patients to sort of, unravel the incorrect thinking that they have and then put together the correct processes in place. So all this invariably tends to lead to stress. If the dentist is stressed because they might feel that then their practice isn't moving forward, then that stress is most definitely going to be filtered down to the team, and the team are going to be stressed out. And when the team are stressed out, then in some ways that does get across to the patients, because you come across as a very busy team, but patients might feel that you might not have the time for them, because this is what they're construing from all your non-verbal body language. So, it can be quite a bit of a mess. So to understand this a little bit more, the analogy that I'm going to use is, now, as dentists, we might have all come across a patient that's chipped a front tooth, and we might fix that front tooth with composite or porcelain and restore it. But then the patient comes back again and the tooth is chipped again. Now, in some cases, what could be possibly happening is we've diagnosed this front part of the mouth and restored it and treated it. But what might actually be happening is they might have a tooth at the back of their mouth that is, might have an occlusal interference. And what that does is that deviates the jaw and skews the bite, and the teeth are hitting each other in the wrong way, so causing trauma. Now, only if we were to comprehensively treatment plan the patient, and what I mean by comprehensively treatment plan is look at the biological status, look at the structural integrity of every single tooth, look at the bite, look at the aesthetic design that we want to create. Only if we do a comprehensive assessment and comprehensive treatment plan will we be able to pick up these things and therefore restore the patient so that the treatment doesn't fail in the future. Now, in a similar manner, business also requires a comprehensive treatment planning, if you like, and we need to look at lots of areas, in a business. And the thing is, what many people don't understand is when they look at success people, they think they're doing something completely, out of the ordinary. And the truth is, successful people or successful practices don't do different things. They just do things differently. So I'm sure many of you are doing much of the right things, but you might be not doing it in, what I believe in is working smarter rather than working harder. So you just need to work in a slightly different way that would give you the results. And what I find is that what many dentists do is they leave so much potential on the table. Now, if you look at that potential that they've left on the table, over time, that compounds into a significant return that they have missed out on. So it's about capturing that and compounding that in the positive way to give you the results that you're actually looking for. And over the sort of span of mine and Rahul's careers, through our own dental practices that we've owned, through our corporate experience, and through the experience of our coaching clients, what we've come to is that there are certain core fundamentals that you have to be put into place in any dental business if you want to achieve long-term, consistent results from your practice, so that it increases in value, you're getting the returns that you want and the revenues that you want, and you're getting the job satisfaction that you want as well. So we've kind of distilled all those things into these 7 fundamentals. So you do need some focused direction, you need some strategy, a business plan on achieving that, you need systems which are effective and efficient processes to achieve that, you need a team which you can direct and lead, you need finance targets, a financial model to drive that revenue that you want, you need an increased case acceptance process, which I call sales. And you need some cost-effective marketing as well. So you need all these things. Now, the other thing is, it's not a case, these aren't sort of mutually exclusive elements here. They are all interrelated and they all work well together. And the key to success is actually making these core areas collate together, work in cognizance with each other, and so that there's a lot of overlap between many of these areas, and it's understanding and appreciating what those overlaps are. So today I want to just highlight a few of the key points related to these areas, and the sort of thinking that me and Rahul have actually put into place that can help. I believe a lot of success is to do with psychology. If you have the correct mindset, then you will be able to ask the right questions. If you ask the right questions, then you will then work towards getting answers for those questions and thus achieve the results that you're actually doing. What I tend to find, what most people tend to do when I speak to them, is they're asking the wrong questions and they're focusing on the wrong things, like their competitors, or you know, or they don't understand their why. You know, why are they doing this in the first place? What's driving them? Where do they want to end up? They don't look at these things. So it's really important to understand that, not only to have these core fundamentals in place, but to also appreciate the fact that there's huge overlap between all of them. So you want to do more of the dentistry that you enjoy. You want to, you know, love the dentist. That's the reason why you went into that profession to begin with in the first place. So, you know, you want to do more. But what I find happening is this: dentists tend to, and I speak to dentists all the time, and what I find happening in the industry when things are not going their way is that they start slashing fees, they start giving discounts without understanding that they're sort of eating into their profits and how they're eating into the profits. They start doing smaller treatment plans because they don't know how to sort of manage their patients and communicate with the patients correctly. So the treatment plans tend to be not as comprehensive as they would have liked. They tend to focus more on clinical because that's our comfort zone. So, you know, when things are going not our way, we'll go back to what our comfort zone is, which is talk dentistry. And, you know, we feel good about that. So a lot of people will end up doing that. And we just tend to make so many assumptions. Now, when all this is happening, then we are all working and operating from a place of fear. And when you're making decisions and, you know, the dynamics in your business is from a place of fear, from the leap, which is the practice principle, then you're definitely going to restrict growth, because you can't grow if you're scared and you're anxious and you're sort of, you know, holding yourself back. And then what that ends up doing is developing a blame culture, because you want to assign the no results to someone. Why is this happening? You're not doing this properly, or why don't you do this, or the team aren't working the way I want to. And you sort of start becoming disgruntled in many sort of areas. The truth is, if you're going to do the same, keep the same old thinking in the same way and approach everything in the same way, you're just going to get into the same old results. And this tends to be a self-fulfilling prophecy and a cycle that we kind of run in our minds again and again. And we don't change. We do not move out of our comfort zones. The truth is, if you want to plan for growth, it actually translates to planning for change. And what's happens is that we're not very good with what I call change management. We like to impose change on our teams, on our practices, in our businesses, because we feel that might be the right way forward, but we don't plan for it. And we don't know how to manage change. And we clearly saw this happening during the COVID pandemic, when there was so much uncertainty. That was a true crisis. We didn't have time to think there. And because many practices hadn't put a lot of things in place already, and they didn't know how to manage change, it was quite a difficult time for many dentists. The truth is, and I always say this to my clients, is that in good economic times, so when the going's good for you, you will perhaps succeed despite your weaknesses. So there may be many holes and gaps and weaknesses in your business, and you kind of overlook them and just think, yeah, everything's going well, so I don't want to work any more than I need to. I don't need to focus on these things. But what tends to happen is when the bad times come around the corner, you're going to be struggling because of those very same weaknesses. And the truth is, when your going is good, that's when you're most energized. That's when you're most creative. That's when you're feeling the most positive. And that's when you have that ability to work your hardest and really create some innovative, forward-thinking results. But if you try to do that when the going's bad, then you're going to be very sort of scrambling for reactivity within you and with your team around you. The truth is, and I believe Benjamin Franklin said this actually, that change is the only constant in life. That's going to happen. And you just need to sort of have your mindset that change is going to happen. And one's ability to adapt to those changes is actually what's going to determine your success in life. And I always say that you need to have this sort of chameleon kind of mindset to continuously battling change. You know that change is going to happen. So you need to have this sort of ability to quickly adapt in different directions as your business requires. And what I always say, that there's highs and there's lows. So, just expect it. I don't know why I feel that people, when they go into business, they think that we're just going to exponentially grow. But the truth is, that's not the way business works. Business will be good sometimes in some months, and other times it'll be low. So we have to work extra sharp. We have to be extra clever and extra innovative and forward thinking and creative in the good times. So what tends to happen is when change is either imposed upon us, or we want to put a change forward, then there's two ways forward with this. You can either let things unfold naturally. So a change is occurring, we just let things go and let's see what happens, and then we'll manage that as we go along. Or alternatively, you can take some proactive action towards that change and take control of it. Now, if you let things unfold naturally, it's still going to happen, but it's going to be hugely uncomfortable for you. So you're going to think, you're going to be very sort of outside your comfort zone. You're going to be forced to make decisions. You're going to be forced outside of your normal criteria, normal limitations. However, if you take proactive action, what you're simply doing is being prepared. You're preparing yourself for the negatives. You're preparing yourself for the downturns in your business. And that's not being negative thinking or or sort of being dismal in your sort of foresight towards that. It's just being prepared and having some strategy there. So you could either be reactive, which if you let things just impose upon you, let things unfold naturally, then you will be managing problems all the time. And what I find dentists do is they're making rash decisions, quick decisions. Oh, let's do this. This has happened, so let's do this. This has happened, so let's do that. But they don't follow a strategy. They don't have a plan of action that no matter what, they don't waver away from. They just manage how they're going to do things when issues arise. And what you will find that if you have strategy in these core areas, these what I call the 7 fundamentals, I think you'd get real results because you have planned. These are the things that any business requires, regardless of whether we have good economic times or we have negative economic times and downturns in the economy. We still need these things. So doesn't it make sense to just plan for each of these areas and see how they overlap and just have a strategy for you there? Now, another analogy that I can give is as human beings. What we require in order to be successful as human beings is we require mental alertness, we require physical fitness, we require some spiritual balance, and we require emotional and social connections. And if we hit all of those, we'll be doing pretty well. So we translate this to sort of business. Business requires that mental focus as well, which is the vision. It requires a physical element, which are the strategic systems which you action. It requires a spiritual element, which is the culture that you develop within the team and the type of culture there. And it requires some emotional input, which is the passion that you have for the work that you are doing. Now, you will only have the passion for the work that you are doing if you really enjoy that work and you're put into that position where you are excelling and you feel that, you know, you can contribute with that work. Now, the thing that I find in most practices, and this is sort of having a bird's eye view of most businesses, is this: when you don't have a vision, then you have to have rules. And when you have rules, team members feel a little bit afraid of doing anything wrong. They don't want to be told off. So then they will only do what they are told. And when they're doing that, they're constantly coming you for the answers. So this isn't working. What shall I do? And you have to answer that. So they're constantly bombarding you with questions rather than using proactive, autonomous, independent behavior and dealing with that situation themselves. If you have no structure in place, then you're going to be micromanaging constantly. That's exhausting as a practice principal and doing the dentistry, because you're constantly having to supervise everyone. And it's like having, sort of a playground of kids that, that have all sort of got, hyperactivity, and you're trying to, make them all focus in the right way. It's hard work. If you don't have any culture within your team, or you haven't worked on developing the right culture and the right attitudes and the right values within the team, then there's going to be low trust with each other. So really, everyone's going to be in it for themselves, and they're going to be just thinking about themselves and, how to sort of serve number one first and then everyone else. And you can't really build a cohesive, integrated team if you don't have that culture. And if you've got no passion, then really people are just coming in for a wage and they want to do the most minimal in the day before they leave. So all these things are really required in order to achieve that level of success. The vision gives us the strategy and the path finding, the structure gives the alignment, the culture gives the consciousness to the team, the passion allows you to execute and take the actions and be self-motivated in that region and feel empowered as well. So really what we're talking about is two things. We're talking about focus. The vision and the conscience of the team gives you the focus. That's the mindset there. And it's the passion and the structure that allows you to take action. So really focus and execution, which will help you do things. Now, I love this slide. I love this quote. I'm not quite sure who said it, but it's really great quote. Rowing harder doesn't help if the boat is headed in the wrong direction. How many times do I see dentists? Dentists work so hard. I'm telling you, I see dentists and, I really reach out to them. My heart reaches out to them because they work so hard. Dental teams work really hard. But I want to change that, because it's about working smarter and about, doing things slightly differently in a more of a strategic way. When you have strategy and a plan of action, right, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. It's like if I said to you, right, we're going to go to Edinburgh. We're going to catch this flight at this time. We're going to catch a cab from our home at this time. Then we're going to reach there at this time. We're going to, and do this over there. We're going to spend this time here, and then we're going to come back. Now you've kind of feel a bit sure of your journey. But if I said to you, oh, we're just going to go somewhere, you know, let's just leave the home on this day and let's see where we end up, then you're not really going to get to Edinburgh or anywhere. You're just going to be sort of going round and round in circles. And then life takes over. It's other people's visions that are going to direct you rather than you directing your own life and head in the right direction. And I find it's quite regretful actually that many dentists get to the end of their careers and then find you know, that, oh, I wish I'd done this, or I wish I'd done it in this way. And, you know, they have all those regrets building up, and, you know, or they think about the value of their practice too late. And then they're having to work very, very hard later on. So it's really about creating a vision, and you have to start off with your vision. What's your vision? Why do you want that vision? You know, what's your ideal practice? And, you know, what happens, I feel when I ask this question or say this question to people that you should create your ideal practice, the first thing people will say, well, I'd love a brilliant practice like this, but how do I do it? And you know what, that's the wrong question. Because you're sort of asking, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You need to look at the why first. Once you have that image in your mind and the what kind of practice you want, and you can actually literally close your eyes and imagine it being there. You know, what time do you want to work? What kind of patients have you got? What kind of work are you doing? What are the team like? If you focus on all these things and create a vision, then you can work out the how. The how is really the easy part, but it's working out what do you want. And not everybody wants the same thing. That's a fallacy as well. So once you work out your vision, this is so key, because now it helps to provide you direction, you know, which way you're going. The team knows which way they're going. And as a consequence, they're able to make decisions. You will know what to say yes to and what to say no to, because if it aligns with that vision, then you say yes to it and consider it. But if it doesn't align with your vision, then you shouldn't really be wasting your time doing that, because that's not really what you want. And alongside the practice vision, I always say that the dentist should have their personal vision as well, and the practice vision should be a component of their personal vision. It also helps to provide autonomy for your team so that they can work independently. You know, we sort of treat our team very differently. We treat them as our team working for us. But the way to look at your team is that they are independent leaders. They lead their own lives. They're making decisions about their own lives, about their families on a day-to-day basis. They're very capable of working autonomously and making some good, shrewd decisions about your business. You know, and that itself drives the culture. In fact, one of the questions that I'm asked so often, you know, is one of the popular questions I ask is, how do I manage my team? How do I motivate my team? How do I inspire my team? Shall I take them out? Shall I do this? Shall I do that? What do I do? Because people feel very frustrated that they can't get their teams to do the actions that they need them to. But I think that's the wrong way. It's difficult. You can't manage people. They've got so much psychological baggage with them, you know, and to manage people, it's really hard. So I say, well, I don't manage people. That's not the way to tackle this issue. What you do is you lead people. You inspire people with your own actions. You be a leader that people can look up to. And then those people can then manage systems. So you lead people, you lead that manages systems. So then the next question, of course, is, well, what systems? I thought I had systems already anyway. So what systems do I integrate into my business? So the first thing I'm going to say is all systems are interconnected. If you have a, you know, they all sort of need to feed off each other and work in cognizance with each other. And the second thing I'll say, there are two clear categories of systems in a practice. And we tend to not look at it in this way because we tend to group everything together, which is incorrect when you do that, because your mindset is wrong then. We have operational systems and we have growth systems. Operational systems are those systems that you need in your practice in order to stay open and function as a dental business or dental practice. Growth systems are those things that will help the business grow and expand, or increase your revenues, or reach an objective that will acquire your vision. So there are two distinct things. And what tends to happen is people think that we're just operating a dental practice. They tend to do things that their previous practice owners might have done, or as an associate that you might have seen people who you've worked for done. And most of those I see are very operational. So you will eventually flatline, but you won't even flatline, because you will come across those issues, the negative downturns, and at that time you will be reactively declining in comparison to somebody else who is proactively growing. So, you know, as each day goes by, each year goes by, there is somebody else, a group of practices out there in the world that are proactively growing. And if you do not maintain the standards and keep with it and compound your growth, then what's going to happen is, in comparison, you're going to be declining. And eventually, you know, people, you know, the patients are getting smarter and smarter, and they've got so much information. They're making much more sort of, you know, informative decisions now about what they want and why they want. And they're getting quite fussy as well, because we're spoiling our patients. I mean, just this weekend gone, both Rahul and myself were judging the National Private Dentistry Awards. And, you know, there's a huge amount, there's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of great practices. So amazing to see these beautiful, wonderful practices that are doing amazing things in our career. It makes you proud to be a dentist. But coming back to this point, you have to be proactively growing. If you're not proactively growing and you are, you know, fooling yourself to think that I'm operational, you're not. You're actually reactively declining. So what you do need is proactive growth systems. So how do you create them? Where do you start? It all starts with the vision, the business vision. Where are you heading? And why do you exist? And more often than not, that vision is a shared purpose of where you're working, what you are all working towards. If teams don't believe that their leader has a strategy, then what are they working towards? It's just a 9-to-5 boring job that they're doing, you know, day in and day out. And people require a little bit of challenge. They require a little bit of variety. They require that expansion and growth of their mental psyche. And this is actually the basic psychology of groups working together. They need a shared purpose. They need a movement to be, you know, feel like they're contributing to the world, that they're leaving a legacy, that they've been part of something that is great. And that's why you need this. And then once you have your vision and your shared purpose of what you're trying to achieve, then simply you reverse engineer your goals. So you say, okay, in 10 years' time, if this is where we want to be, then what do we need to achieve in 5 years' time so that we are on track? And set yourself some goalposts along the way. And that then you systemize. So you then have a stepwise system in order to achieve that. What this does for you, so you've got goalposts, you've got systems to achieve that. That helps you to get consistency of results. This helps you to sleep better as dentists at night, because you know things are going to be happening in the way you need it to happen. Also, you get effective results. If you need to refine, adapt, and change those systems, it becomes easy. I saw this firsthand with my group of clients that I was working with. I had a Protect Your Practice Against COVID a series of webinars I was doing during that time. And I saw this firsthand that we had already worked systems in this, we already had our vision, we already had the goalposts. We don't change our vision just because we were, you know, hitting a crisis or a change or was imposed upon us. We literally adapted and refined the system to accommodate for the new changes. But it was so much more easier to do because we had things in place already rather than develop total new systems. Because I remember a whole host of dentists at that time were waiting for the SOPs to come out and, you know, what do we do and how do we do it? Whilst what my clients were doing is we were just accommodating those SOPs, those standard operating protocols within the systems that were already there. Now, you want to drive that vision. The only way of driving your vision, which means you will attain your vision at some point, is but through the behaviors and values of your team. Once your team are working with a set of values, which is literally a culture that you're actually creating, that's what these values and behaviors determine. Then you are all as a team living the brand that you have created. Consistency of that brand is what creates the vision ultimately. And this is a great quote that I always use from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. If you haven't read that, you should read it. It's an oldie, but a very good one. And he wrote in there, get the right people on the bus first and the wrong people off it. Seat the right people in the right seats and then decide where to drive the bus. So what I usually say is slightly different to this. You've got to decide that you want to drive the bus to begin with, where you are going to drive that bus, then get the right people on it and the wrong people off it, and then put those right people in the right seats. If your team members are in positions and doing roles in your business that is aligned with who they are, their unique abilities, their capabilities, then they're not going to see it as work. They're going to enjoy it. They're just simply using their talents in the right way. So one of the things that I do when I actually work with businesses is I actually interview the team. I actually look at the team to say, right, what set of talents have I got here? What capabilities have I got within the team? This is the definition of a team. It's a committed group of leaders working cohesively towards a common set of goals. There's some operative words here: committed, cohesively, and goals. And what that translates to is this. Committed means they've got a set of values that they're working towards. Cohesively means that there's a set of systems, stepwise systems that they are following, and the goals are ultimately leading to the vision. And what I usually say is this: the vision is the leader. That's what you've got to look for everyone. It's not the practice principle, it's the vision that you've created. So you're all in it together to achieve this. And the analogy, I love this analogy of a conductor creating beautiful music with an orchestra. The conductor will only be able to create beautiful music if everyone in that orchestra knows how to play their instrument really, really well and is coming into that tune in the right way, and they are seated in the right positions and playing the right instrument. So when that happens, you can create beautiful music and create the vision, establish it the way you want. What we're looking for with our teams in our leadership is autonomy, independence, so that we have confidence in them. They have mastery via training so that they become really good at what they are doing, and they have a shared purpose that they are working towards. Now, also, as part of a business, of course, we need some cost-effective marketing, which is giving us a return on investment. We need a sales process where we're getting increased sales. But you've got to understand, sales and marketing is a dynamic thing. So it's not, what I mean by that is that it's constantly changing. It's a work in progress. You can't just say, I've done a marketing plan, I've done marketing activity, and that's it. Now I'm going to follow that same thing for years to come. Or you create a certain processes in your sales and say, right, that's it. That's what I've done. I've done the job. I've got a business. I've done that, and that's it. No, as you can see, like Starbucks icon here, the logo, they've evolved. And that's what most businesses do. They evolve, they change, they morph into, various different things in different ways. So it's important to understand that that's what's going to happen to business if you keep that sales and market dynamic. Now, I talk about sales, mostly customer-centric sales. And I use the word sales very freely, but let me explain what I mean. This is the definition I give to sales. It's the process. It's not a one-time event. It's a process of helping someone discover something of value, and therefore they're going to be happy to pay for it. And in our professions, it's helping the patients make the right decisions for their mouth, their health, and their life. And that leads us to make a significant difference. You can only do that with a unique sales process. Now, I'm going to teach you something that I kind of teach my clients, and it's a philosophy. It's the foundational philosophy of Dental Wealth Builder. and that is the assessment process, or the sales process, or the communication process, you can call this. There's 3 distinct parts of it. And what tends to happen in most practices is that before the clinical examination, a patient might spend 5-10 minutes on the phone, and then they're booked in with the dentist to have a clinical examination done. And then there's, in some practices, there's this massive finale of a case presentation. So if you look at this triangle here, and I've split it into 3, the area of the triangle represents the amount of effort and energy the team together puts into those areas. Now, when that's happening, I don't think patients can make, proper decisions about where they're going, especially for high-value treatment plans. For low-value treatment plans, yes, because it's a kind of no-brainer. They'll kind of go on trust and things like that, and they'll say, "Well, I'm not losing out much. It's only a small bit of dentistry," and also they tend to understand small dentistry as well. But when it comes to more comprehensive treatment planning, more complex cases, when occlusion gets involved, it automatically becomes more complex, then you need to do something different. They can't make decisions for these high fee-based treatment plans in this sort of format. So what I've done is flip the triangle on its head. What I believe, and what I call this, is opening with a close. So in the pre-assessment, the patient, you should have communicated everything with the patient in such a way that patients have already decided that you are the practice for them and they want to go ahead. And then the clinical assessment is about proving how distinct you are as a dentist and justifying, not justifying, but adding credibility to what the team have been saying. And the post-assessment, which is a case presentation where you talk about the treatment plan, is simply should be a formality of just booking appointments and collecting payments and so on and so forth. One thing that I will say here is that patients, when they come to your practice, and this is the mindset that I sort of integrate into the DWB philosophy, patients want to say yes to you. Let's think about this for a moment, okay? Because a lot of practices and teams make excuses. Oh, the patient couldn't afford it. The patient didn't want to have it done now. The patient, because we all hear that doomed kind of dreaded sentence from the patient. Oh, I'll think about it, and then they go away and they don't. They literally forget about us. And so to avoid that, let's just change our mindset a bit. Patients want to say yes. The moment a patient contacts your practice, they want to say yes. And there's a lot of psychology behind this, which I'm just going to talk to you about. Think about it. At some point in this patient's life, they have realized that they have a problem in their mouth. They might be crooked teeth or missing teeth, whatever it is, it's a problem for them. Somebody might have pointed it out. They might have seen photographs. They feel embarrassed. They cover their mouths, so on and so forth. So they have felt a psychological pain. The more stimuli they get by seeing their teeth in that way, the more depressed they get about it, and the more that psychological pain builds up, compounds in their mind, if you like. So then they eventually get to a point then they're saying, I need to do something about this. I've got a gap in my mouth. I don't know what to do. Let me go on Google, which is what we all do. So they go on Google and they'll look up all this information about missing teeth and how to replacement. But you and I both know when you go on Google and start researching and asking family and friends, there's like a whole sort of plethora of information bombarding you and insulting you, if you like, or sorry, assaulting you. And you sort of feel, whoa, what's all this? So then it has to work through, wade their way through all that information to make some decisions about themselves. Then they decide, right, implants might be the way forward, and this type of implant, because they've heard of that type. It might be Nobel Biocare or Straumann or something they've heard of, say, as an example. Then they have to find the right dentist. So they do the research, and these days patients are doing a huge amount of research on dentists. So they try to figure out like which is the right practice for them. They suddenly find there might be something in your marketing or something that appeals to them. So then they say, okay, fine, I'm going to call this practice up. Then in this busy day and age, they actually take time out from their busy, hectic lives to actually call a practice and do something uncomfortable that they're not used to and they don't want to do, because they know there's going to be pain involved. Whenever it's anything medical, nobody wants to do it. I mean, I don't care what anyone says, nobody likes anything medical. Nobody likes anyone poking them, their bodies, let alone their mouths with things. So they overcome those barriers and they call your practice or engage with your team in some way. Then, because they feel that marketing might be right, the lady on the reception might be very welcoming, they think, okay, you know what, I'm gonna book in. Then they actually commit. They commit to time to come to you, and they not only do that, but they actually pay for that appointment, however much your clinical examinations are costing. And then what? They come to your practice to have the clinical examination done, to say no to you. It just doesn't even make sense to me. So what I usually say to most practices is, this is the mindset you've got to have. When a patient contacts your business, your practice, they want to say yes. They want to have some solution to their problems. They have some issues, some serious issues and serious problems. And by doing, your clinical assessment in this way, where you are opening with a close, what you are doing is you're discovering, what are their obstacles? What are their challenges? Let's find out a little bit more about this human being before we sort of impose treatment on them. Let's find the right thing for them. Let's work together. That's what co-discovery is. Work together to find solutions, because this person actually has some level of psychological pain, and it might have taken any length of time for them to get to this point. And I feel actually quite strongly about this. It's our obligation and our responsibility as dentists and in the dental profession to help these patients in this way. But what tends to happen, because of some sort of approach that we use, we are unselling pre-motivated patients. So, we really have to work on this, and it all boils down to a patient experience, giving value, looking at the psychology of sales, which are all of my programs. Anything I teach has a huge amount of psychology into it. It's about using the correct verbal skills and correct communication, understanding purchasing behavior, that you value what you want, not really what you need. And want is like a feeling you have that you want more of it. That's why we buy loads of things that we don't really need, actually, like luxuries and watches and handbags and shoes and what have you. But when we have to fix the roof or fix our sterilizer or get our car serviced or tires changed, that's a need. We don't want that feeling again, and we don't want to, we almost resent paying for that. So case acceptance in your sales process will only occur when your patient wants what they need and they've got value. And what we're actually trying to do is give so much value that cost doesn't become an issue. Cost will only become an issue. The fee for your practice will only become an issue if there's no value there, because the patients are going to think, well, this isn't what I expected when I came here. So you have to give them some level of expectation. You see, your patients have their why as to why they actually came to you in the first place. And your practice obviously has their why as to why they do things the way they do things and the way they come across. And we tend to be so focused on the dentistry, but patients are focused on the value. So they don't really understand the dentistry. And so we have to hit that sweet spot, which is about brand perception from the patient and the brand value really aligning with each other. And that's what our case acceptance sales process should be all about. And then, of course, we have to look at marketing as a huge element of any business. But again, I find people doing this incorrectly, because what tends to happen, people are doing marketing because they see others doing that type of marketing. And sometimes I see fads going around. So, it might be, oh, everyone's doing Instagram marketing, so let's do Instagram marketing, or everyone's doing Facebook ads, let's do this. But really, the decisions behind this are incorrect. So let's look at what marketing actually is. We need to go back to basics on this. This is what marketing is. It's getting the message of who you are and what you can do, because you have your unique way of doing things, across to the right caliber of patients using the appropriate promotion. And what people tend to do is they focus just on the promotion and forget about the message that they're sending out, or how they're or focusing on their right type of patients. What we're trying to do here is attract pre-motivated patients, pre-qualified patients, interested patients who will pay, stay, and refer. And if you've got good marketing, most of the time you'll get this right. And as I mentioned before, marketing is dynamic, it's evolution. These are the steps that I actually teach when it comes to marketing. So you have your marketing message, and that's unique to each individual practice, the reason why a patient would want to come to you. Then step 2 is figuring out who your exact patient type is, who your target audience is, who you want to, what kind of ideal patient do you want in your practice. And then what you do is you connect your marketing message with your patient type and make that connection. And it's whichever promotional media that will do that in the best way, in the most efficient way, the most cost effective way, is the one that you choose, not the one that your neighbors are doing or your competitors are doing. You have to choose your marketing media really carefully. And there's lots actually out there. And then what you do is you put it all together in a plan that is easily actioned, and then you plan out who does what, when, how, and that's step 5, which is taking the action.
So actually, all these steps that Bhavna has gone through, you can actually apply to any form of marketing, and you should be applying to all forms of marketing, whether it's brand marketing, whether it's internal marketing, whether it's external marketing, and any write-ups that you do, any advertising that you do, any radio adverts that you may actually do in the future, or also any other type of marketing that you may have thought of. There is a methodology that is established for all of it. But also it applies to online marketing as well, whether it's website marketing or social media marketing. And actually, we studied website marketing over the last 20 years to know exactly what it takes to build a great website. And right now, the Perfect Smile attracts, that's our website that we built, around 2,000 visitors a day, and that's with very minimal ad spend. And that's because we know what it takes to create the actual optimization of the website. And it's not done by us, it's done by differing agencies, but we know and understand what they need to do, and that's the key thing. So that when we spend our money on marketing, we are spending it to get the return that we want. So we do get the stats for websites to develop and grow. But the key thing to remember is most people think that when they've seen an ad and they come to your website, that they will become a patient. But that's not the case. What actually happens is when people have seen your ad, they'll come to your website, they'll look at a competitor, they may look at your social media posts, they may go back to your website again, they may look at a competitor again, they may come back to your reviews or your testimonials, and then they become a patient. So it's a journey. So all your marketing needs to be congruent and be saying and giving the same message about who you are and to the right type of patients you're trying to attract. Now, if marketing is done correctly, with all the other aspects that Bhavna has spoken about, and that's about creating the right vision, focusing on the team, developing the patient journey, etc., you can create a massive return on your marketing spend. So anything from 10 to 20 times return on your marketing spend. And that's if you follow all the strategies that Bhavna has spoken about.
So again, it all kind of boils down to looking at these 7 core fundamentals, and really what you're trying to do is create success. And my definition of success is this: no matter what strategy, no matter what system I put into place, everyone here needs to be benefiting. So it's not just the dentist, dental practice owner. It needs to also be your patients who are getting exactly what they need. They need solutions to their psychological pains and their physical pains as well. and they need solutions that are making a positive impact in their lives. But also the team needs to be getting what they want out of their careers. They need to have job satisfaction. They need to feel appreciated and valued. They need to feel like they're part of a movement working towards that shared focus and that shared purpose. So win-win-win is the only way. In fact, that is my definition of success. If we look at cases that we've kind of done in the past. So I'll kind of give you a brief sort of glimpse of what kind of work we've actually done. So there was this one practice that we were working with, I think about 3 years ago here, general practice, doing about £40,000 a month. You know, a great practice. But they lacked communication skills. They didn't have really a proper patient journey, a patient experience, and the team was very incohesive with each other. So we worked with them quite significantly, and eventually through leadership, correct leadership program, correct training on that, inspiring the team, developing a sales journey, developing the right communication, we were able to help them establish more than £100,000 a month in their revenues. There's another practice in the south of England, which was an implant practice. Well, they wanted to establish an implant practice. They were doing about £35,000 a month, not really much, but they wanted to invest more in. They had a great team. I was really impressed with the team. I actually really enjoyed working with them. They were very positive and focused. They just needed some help in, you know, in working in the right way and which direction, and they just needed some help there. So we created a vision for a high-end practice. The team had was great, but we developed those capabilities that they had and helped train them. We developed a proper sales journey and sales systems in the practice, and we helped them with the marketing. And as a consequence, they're now making over £200,000 a month, which is amazing for that. So ultimately, what you want, this is the reason why you went into dentistry in the first place, and the reason why you actually probably bought your practice as well, is because you want that freedom to do the dentistry that you enjoy, and you want to do more of that dentistry, and that's sort of very fulfilling and provides a huge amount of job satisfaction. So you want that, but at the same time, if you were to follow these core fundamentals and keep your focus on that, you could actually increase your 10-year turnover by £2 to £4 million, increase your EBITDA, and increase your practice value by approximately £2 to £4 million as well. And what that allows you to actually do is liberate yourself, liberate your lifestyle, create that financial wealth and security that you actually want for you and your family and your team as well.
And we're also, so if you want any help, we're here to help. We're offering free 90-minute consultations. You can take a scan of the QR code there, or there'll be a link that we'll put up on the chat line, and be really just happy to help you in every way that we can.